I was like, whoa, I'm actually part of the band technically. You know?
What were your go-to movies? Like, was it comedy? Was it action? Was it horror? What was your kind of... So what was the music scene there? I know I was like getting my friends to move out here, and a lot of
Oh,
them did.
really?
Anything off topic when you do comedy?
What do you mean off topic?
Welcome, everyone, to Music Junkies, a podcast about people sharing extraordinary stories about how music has impacted their lives.
Welcome, everyone, to Music Junkies. I'm your host, Annette Smith, and today's guest, not only is he charming, he's funny, he's a hot, sexy comedian. He performs all over the U.S., making people laugh. Please welcome Jeff Nelson.
Oh, hello. I could just do that intro part over and over and over. That was amazing.
Did
Thank
you like
so much.
the hot, sexy guy, or like what part?
All that, the charming, sexy, hot, just all the adjectives, really.
That's right.
You know.
I agree. It always feels good.
Yeah, I could do that every day. So thank you so much for having me. I'm really
You're
happy
welcome.
to be here. And yeah.
I'm excited to have you. So before we jump into kind of getting crazy on your playlist, what was your experience putting that playlist together for me today?
I would say let's start with daunting, because I'm like, these 10 songs that has to represent my life. And then also putting it together, I'll shake my head a lot because I'm like, man, some of my song selections, they just make me think I'm I don't know, shallow. I'm like, this is your song? That's your song? Really? No, no Joni Mitchell, no Bob Dylan, you Snoop. That's what we're going with, So or whatever. You know what I mean? So it was a mix of emotions, but it was cool to go down memory lane, and music's always, I mean, this isn't too original. Music's a great part of all of our lives, but I mean,
Right.
I've put a lot of myself just into music in general, given a lot back. So I was really excited to do this podcast and like talk about that.
I'm excited. Yeah. And I love, my favorite part is just really finding out where people kind of go, because there's so many different directions. Some people, start like really, really early and they stop at like 17. Some people are just doing like 15 to 21. Some people are like, it's crazy.
I tried to make it, as, wide ranging as possible. But yeah, it is. And then you like reflect on your life and you're like, and then you talk about yourself. I was like, yeah, Jeff, you're kind of interesting, but not that, I mean, it was fun. So putting together the list was an experience in itself. So
I love it.
Thank you for that. Yeah.
You're welcome. Well, let's get started with your first song. You ready?
Oh man. So I'm just going to hear it.
Yeah.
And then
hear it.
Okay. Oh, nice.
So some Stones, Get Off My Cloud, great tune.
Yeah. So I have like two artists that like Stones, and we'll get into the other one, but they just share this top tier. I'm a Stones guy. As if it had to be like one or the other between them and the Beatles. I mean, whatever. I'm Stones all the way.
Nice.
They were the first ones to bring that kind of dirt and grit to like mainstream music and civilization. They in my opinion, I mean, that kind of overstates them a little bit, but I don't know. So anyway, that song to me, I just picked because so I was in a band when I was around late 20s. I played tambourine and maracas.
Wow.
In a blues band and a blues rock band with very capable musicians. One who had been very established. Brody Buster, shout out to Brody. We were good friends, and he grew up as like a harmonica wonder kid, and it got him on like Jay Leto, and he was making the run around like 7 years old. It's just this guy who could, cut a rug on the harmonica.
Wow.
And so we knew each other, yeah. And so I knew him. I mean, it started as, we met through mutual friends and became friends around like our mid-20s. And then one day he had a gig that he didn't want to do by himself because he was like, this is gonna suck. And then he called me and he's like, Jeff, do you have your tambourine? I said, yeah, no problem. And so I joined him sitting on this ledge. I mean, we just sat on the edge of the stage at Jackpot Saloon and played for like two people. And for me, I was like, whoa, I'm actually part of the band, technically. You know what I'm saying? So, and I just sat, and I mean, I didn't know how to go, I was just hitting the four on the, you know what I mean? And, um, and so I say all that to say that started me trying to like inch my way into this band because I'd always want to be on stage, but I didn't have any talent. And this is before I did stand up. I had no reason to be on stage. And then I found a reason. So from then I was in the band and I was like, well, I gotta add more than just tambourine. So I grew my hair out into this Brian Jones haircut. I wore like women's jewelry and like, I stole my mom's clothes and stuff and started playing up the androgynous, 60s rock star thing. And I say all that to say that I studied Mick Jagger extensively, trying to craft some sort of stage presence and like reason to be on stage amongst these guys who are like jazz musicians who practice 6 and 8 hours a day. I'm just up there like, and and my favorite video of Mick Jagger from that era is the Get Off My Cloud one. He moves very just randomly and it makes no sense what he's doing, but it looks cool. It
Yeah.
looks so cool. And I love that element that he brought because I think, the Stones, like, I don't know, everything in there had to be like a package and had to be, rehearsed and polished, and they just kind of did away with all that. And
Yeah.
yeah. So anyway,
I love it.
Yeah, I love the Stones.
I love the Stones too. I just finished reading Keith Richards' book and it was like so good. It's just amazing. And it's cool how he actually, what you were just saying, how he describes, he says he could put him, he could put Mick Jagger in like a 3x8 like spot and he could like totally take on it. And I love that. I think that is a huge talent that a lot of artists need to wrap their head around. Instead of having this big stage presence, if you can have such a presence like that in like a 1x2 box, like you're meant to be on stage for sure.
I love that. I remember that part of the book.
Yeah.
Actually. They said that he could just take this little table and rock that. I love that book.
Did you have to like practice? Like, what did they say? Did they say count in your head, then hit? Was there certain things?
So, I mean, it started with, just hitting on the 4.
Yeah.
And that, like you would if you were clapping, just like, that's like a basic blues shuffle. So, like kind of a bump, bop, 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 and I would just bop, 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 but then it would turn to, you know what I mean? And like, I got more daring and adventurous with the tambourine, There was one time where Brody, so in this band we're dealing with, like Brody, he's a virtuoso. Our drummer was a virtuoso, and our bassist was a virtuoso. They were all amazing. So there was a song, I think it was Superstition, and we would cover Stevie Wonder's. Oh, it was something else. Anyway, so everyone would take turns doing a solo. It would start with Chris Hanley on the bass, Tommy Demo do a drum solo, and that would lead to Brody doing a harmonica solo. And there was one time where we were doing a gig, and he leaned into the mic and he goes, and Jeff Nelson on the tambourine, and like I'll never forgive him for that. for the rest of the time. And then the audience is like looking to me to do something with this
Yeah.
tambourine. And
Like use your hips or something, like
yeah,
smack
I
it on your
tried.
butt or something. Like,
Yeah, exactly. I tried, but it didn't. It nothing happened. And then yeah, I'm afraid to say I was way more attitude than talent on on stage, but it worked out. As long as I didn't mess up the band, they were fine.
yeah.
That would happen. Our bassist, that he grew up, he was a trained jazz musician, and he would be playing sometimes. He'd lean over to me and he's like, "You're fucking up the entire band right now." And he's doing this all while playing perfect. He's like, "Dude, you don't stop." You know what I mean? So yeah.
We said count to 4, then hit. What are you doing?
Yeah. What are you doing? Yeah. Quit trying to reinvent the wheel here, man. All right.
I love it. All right, next song. So some Outcast.
Yeah. Man, this I should have, to me, honestly, this song represents my introduction to marijuana in high school. I mean, there's nothing more nothing profound behind it, but I was thinking about my life and music and
Yeah.
soundtracks to it, and this was the song that we smoked a lot of blunts to. And I don't know, I remember, like, and this was in the 90s before weed was, legal. It wasn't really accepted. You know what I mean? Like, it
Yeah.
was, you have a beer at a party, that's not good, but God, for if you have a joint, you were like on the fringes. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's really, yeah, it's really weird living in Denver now that I can go into a store and, talk to somebody.
About what
Uh,
kind of weed to buy.
what kind of weed? What do I want it for? It
Yeah.
just wasn't like that. So, but for the kids that did smoke weed, I mean, I thought it was, I don't really, I'm much older now, and it doesn't, um, I got things to do a lot more than I used to.
What kind of guy
So,
were you in high school?
what kind of what?
What kind of guy were you in high school?
I was class clown,
Yeah.
bouncing off the walls. Yeah. So, just ADHD poster child, huge resentment of authority, very disruptive. I wasn't like bad or like mean or, bad hearted, but I just didn't, I don't know. I think I just really fed off of the attention I got from being, a class clown. And so for me, comedy was a natural progression. I'd been training for that my whole life. I
Yeah.
was, and I'll never be funnier than I was then, no matter how hard I tried. You know what I mean? If I started when I was 16, I'd be famous. But so yeah, that was the kind of kid I was. But then I
What did
fell
you
into,
want to be back then? Like, obviously it turned into comedy, but was there a
oh,
job title
you know
that you
what?
wanted to do?
Filmmaker, and
Okay.
yeah, that was a big one, I think, filmmaker. And I like, was inspired by Tarantino, the story that he worked at a video store, and that was his education. And I thought, well, if I just watch a lot of movies, I could be like him. I mean, now I realize this is a man working with he's a very intelligent guy, and the way he talks about film is very almost scholarly. He's very smart and capable.
Yeah, the
Uh,
productions that he put on compared to like when you look at him is like,
oh yeah,
and like
yeah,
it's night and day. Like it's so trippy. It's like, really? You made this move? Like this is
yeah,
blowing me out. Like
yeah.
sometimes I wish I didn't see him because like I see him and I'm like, oh dude, like it's a lot.
Just ruins
It's
the
ruined
speed.
it. Like finding out Chris Hemsworth would be gay or something. I'd be like, you just wrecked it. You just wrecked
Oh
it.
man, I thought you were this man's man. I thought you were our Fabio. What are you doing? No, I used to work at Hollywood Video. That was my first job, because I had asked Tarantino aspirations, and so wore the bow tie, and the cummerbund and all that, and got to check out 3 movies a night or
Oh,
whatever.
wow.
Yeah, or for every shift or whatever.
What were your go-to movies? Like, was it comedy? Was it action? Was it horror? What was your kind of?
I'm a big, I like so drama and action, and I think all the subsets under that, like whether mystery or courtroom thriller. I'm weirdly, I do not. I like comedy while I'm watching it, but I don't really seek it because to me, life is funny enough. Like
Yeah.
that's not where the escapism is for me. So my escapism is like, I don't know, like The Godfather or John Woo, like a Hong Kong John Woo movie where they're floating in slow motion with 2 guns. Or that was my thing in like
Yeah.
middle school. Yeah. So,
What's a couple movies you've seen more than 10 times?
ooh, that's a really good question. You know, a lot of it would have to do with the VHSs that my parents had at the
Yeah.
time. But I could say like John Woo's Hard Boiled. That's one that I had. This is a weird one, but I know it's true. A Few Good Men is such a watchable movie. I don't think it's a great movie. I think it's corny, but I've seen it a lot for some reason. That was just one of them because I would fall asleep to a movie like every night. I didn't sleep in my room. I slept in the basement where TV was when I was in high school. God, that's a really Chinatown. I've seen a lot. I think that's kind of a perfect tragic movie. It's just really well done. Yeah, I think I can stop around there. I mean, because I can't. We only have so much time. I could,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
think about
miss
that
I
all day.
miss Blockbuster. Like I was kind of obsessed with going to Blockbuster every Tuesday, and I would rent every single new release out on Tuesday.
Oh,
And my husband
yeah.
would want him shoot himself in the face because I didn't even like I never looked. He's like, "What movies you got?" And I'm like, "This one, who's in it? I don't know. I
It's
just get
new.
like whatever is there. I'll just rent
I
it."
I love that you're like that because I am so picky sometimes, and I do this with like food or whatever. If it's something I'm not sure, like this is gonna be good or not, I don't check it out. And then I have these friends who don't have as I'm not saying this about you, but I have friends whose tastes aren't as elevated or whatever, but they're way more adventurous
Yeah.
and they don't care. They don't read Metacritic before they watch something. They just watch it,
Yeah.
and I need a little more of that in my life because it does keep me watching a lot of the same things because
Yeah.
I'll enjoy it. So I have to force myself to do that. So I love that. You just didn't even look. You're like new releases. Yeah.
45 bucks every week,
Yeah.
like
Yeah, that's
whatever.
awesome.
Oh yeah, it's so bad. All right, next song. A great song. I haven't heard this song. You're the first one to have this on. I probably did maybe 300 episodes.
Hmm.
First time ever on the podcast, which is
Really?
crazy. I had a recording yesterday, and this is so crazy because most people know who U2 is, but that was the first time anybody's ever had a U2 song on in
Oh,
300
really?
episodes.
Wow.
Yeah,
That is
it's
amazing.
crazy.
Yeah,
Anyways,
no one wants to claim that they like U2, but we all enjoy a U2 song. No one wants to say it, but
that's right.
yeah. So that song, that record really that represented a shift in my life. I was only like in the rap, in R&B, and I didn't really listen to anything with guitars or whether it's folk rock or anything like that. But in college, I wanted to be cool and expand my taste a little bit and try and find things that no one had ever heard or whatever. Um, I went to Austin on a just a whimsical trip as college people do. And my buddy lived down there, and I just remember my last night there, got pretty high at his apartment, and he played this album,
Wow.
and it was really weird. It was the right time, the right place, the right setting, and it from that point on, I got into like 60s psychedelic rock, and um I started like I picked up the guitar like within the next year.
Oh, good.
I grew my hair out within the next year. That's when I started playing tambourine in the band and everything, and it was just interesting. I would not I just didn't gravitate towards that stuff. It was like Tupac or nothing, you know.
Wow.
And then yeah, some about that album and just everything. And that documentary Dig, I don't know if you've seen that.
No, I haven't.
So that's a Brian Jonestown massacre documentary, and it follows them and the Dandy Warhols as they got to know each other and their past kind of splits. Dandy's got kind of mainstream popular, and Brian Jonestown Massacre, they have like a cult following. But
Oh,
that movie, I don't know why, but it made me, I had to be in a band after I saw that documentary. I had to be, even though nothing in that movie, it's nothing but a cautionary tale for, being in a band. These guys are underpaid. They don't eat well. They don't sleep well. Their shows are a disaster. Artists are um, not really treated. We don't have a middle class. Artists
yeah.
aren't in America. You're either struggling or you broke through. You know what I mean? I think the internet's changed that a little bit, but you know. Um, anyway, there's a saying. It's like about the Velvet Underground, their first album. Um, not every only 100 people listened to it, but everyone that did started a rock and roll band. I think that's also true for the documentary Dig for the Brian Jonestown Massacre. Like I had to be in a band whether I started it or joined it. I had to do that. So
Yeah.
yeah. So that represented a major, that song and that album, just huge shit for no reason. I don't know
It's
how that
really
happened.
interesting.
It,
Do you
yeah.
remember, since you're such into rap, like what was your first rap concert you ever been to?
Gosh, I think it might have been the Roots
Oh,
actually.
really?
Yeah, Kemper Arena, and when I was a senior in high school, because rap concerts they didn't really
Yeah.
happen. That I mean, at least to my knowledge, from they didn't put out ads in the
Yeah.
newspapers that showed up my doorstep or whatever. We just didn't hear. We didn't have the internet. I didn't know how to get any concert tickets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Much less to a genre that wasn't really predominant in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
So that was a great concert, though. I think it was and Gangstar opened, and that was incredible. Um, yeah, great show.
That's really cool. Yeah, that's kind of interesting because like did you grow up in Denver? Is that where you grew up?
No, I grew up in Kansas City, so
Okay.
any stories that I tell you, usually, unless I say otherwise, took place in the
It's all
City
Kansas.
area. Yeah.
Yeah. So what was the music scene there?
Well, I will say once I was in a band and venturing out, and I'll touch on a few of these things. The hip hop scene in the probably 2010s was very vibrant and top shelf and like world class, like as far as the talent and the ability of the MCs in our area. I don't know how that happened.
Wow.
Actually, one of my really good friends, and I put he's in this playlist. He moved from Denver. We kind of did a flip eventually, but he grew up in Denver and moved to Kansas City to pursue a career in
Really?
hip hop as an MC. Yeah,
Oh,
don't know
wow.
how that happened. And then also there was for a while like when I was in a couple bands, and I would say around 2010ish. Really vibrant indie pop and indie rock scene. Um, I would say, shout out to, let me think, Beautiful Bodies, the Rich Boys, uh, oh gosh, the bleach bloods. I mean, man, it was really cool. And when I had my hair cut, like when I had this Brian Jones bob, I could just go out and run into somebody. And even if like, I mean, I was a scenester. It was so
Yeah.
much fun. And so I went to a lot of like rock and roll parties that took place. They'd be in some abandoned warehouse at 3 or 4 in the morning or something. And I'm like from the suburbs. I have no real business. Like I was wearing kind of a, I didn't grow up in that culture. I had no tattoos,
Yeah.
don't have any tattoos, but the
So very
haircut
different.
was on point and it was undeniable. So they were like, anyone who is willing to put in this much, I mean, let's let him in here. He's leaning all the way in. That was so much fun. Yeah.
I love it. All right, next tune. What is happening now? Oh my goodness.
Oh, no worries. Take your time.
Yeah, I don't know why it's not playing this song.
Which one? Oh, I
It's
guess.
Float.
Oh, you might be able to just pull it up on YouTube or something.
Yeah.
Hit me high.
I picked this song because I did work at a rap label for a while, and it was Strange Music. It was Tech Nine's label. I had gotten the job because I don't know if you know who Tech Nine is. He's a rapper from Kansas City.
No.
Okay, we'll get into him later. Weirdly, he has a. Where are you from? We haven't even
Canada.
Canada.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Calgary,
Okay,
yeah.
we did a couple Canadian tours. So, anyway, number one independent record label in the world was also for this rapper Tech Nine, where like in the '90s a lot. It's music's a lot more homogenized now because of the
Yeah.
internet and all that. But there was like regional identities. West had their artists, East had their artists. There was some rappers in Chicago. Tech Nine was our guy, and I put a song of his on the playlist. But it was cool just growing up having someone having anybody
Yeah.
I was like, this guy hasn't moved, he's still here, like, and his talent level was just off the charts. No one sounds like him, especially in the early days. He just came
Mm.
in with this very interesting style. He would rap backwards sometimes. Very capable guy, as far as just skill set and songwriting, like top shelf, right? And so eventually, his entity picked up. He found a business partner in Kansas City. They started a label, and it just snowballed into this, into something that was big enough to take on at the time a guy to run the music blog. That was me.
Oh, no way.
That was like in around 2012 or 13, I think. And there was a stint where they formed a video department to make the music videos in house. And my buddy Anthony, he was the main director, but he threw a couple videos to me. One of them was the song Momentum. And so that was like, to me, that's my best. I did 2 videos for him, and that was the better one. And I poured everything I had. I told you I had filmmaker aspirations.
Yeah.
So to me, I was like, this is my chance to show the world that I'm a real artist, and I mean, looking back, it's so ridiculous because it was just a music video with like a $2,000 budget, right? But I did the scouting. I found an abandoned warehouse. I mean, I put everything I had into like a shot list. I had screenshots of the kind of shots I wanted. And then when I was on set, you would have thought I was like, I don't know, like James Cameron or something, not because of skill, but just because of like, like this attitude that I brought, like that I was just some auteur. you know, and I have a vision here. Okay, we're gonna achieve it, you know, and the crew was like, oh my God, this guy is literally never directed a video before a week ago. What is his problem? But in my mind, I'm like, this is gonna be the best video ever made, you know, and I just remember like there was certain times where I'm like, nope, that angle's not low enough. I need it to be lower. Do what you have to do. I really leaned into this like crazy visionary director like thing or whatever. And listen, I will stand by the work. It's a fun video, but I think I could have been a little easier to work with at the time. Um, I don't know where that came from. Video came out great, but um, me as an older person, I can look back and say I probably could have gotten the same results with less, you know, expletives and
And how did Stevie like it though?
Stevie loved it. He loved it.
There you
Stevie,
go.
I ran into him 2 years ago. He was like, "That's the best video that anyone's ever done for me." Girls see that video and they're like, "You look so hot in that video." Stevie loves it. All right. So, and I really like I made a conscious effort to try and capture his what I thought his energy was. You know, to me, the way his vocals sound and the way presents himself is very larger than life. Everything he records, it just sounds so big. So I
Yeah.
had my core shot was this low angle shot where we had a fog machine behind him, but all backlight. So he was just this huge silhouette. And he looks amazing in it. I will say that. You know, it was a great shot. So, but
And then you did another video for him or just one?
I did another video for him, and that was beforehand, and that was more. We had less time to plan, and the song wasn't as like it's more of a chill song, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And this one was like really aggressive and captivating, and it was an anthem. So I was just like, well, we gotta this thing's got to be the best thing ever. So yeah. So
That's
yeah.
awesome.
That represents my short little stint doing videos. I think shortly after that, they were like, we can't put this guy in charge again. The video's
He's
great,
gonna
but
be
he
charging
goes
us
crazy.
50K to do a
Yeah,
video. Like we got a
yeah.
budget here. I don't know where all these girls are coming from. Why does he have all these vintage cars in here?
Yeah, what's he doing? I don't know.
We got
So they're
guns
like, we
showing
got
up. What is happening? We got to
yeah,
call
they're
this
like,
guy. We got to rein this guy in.
they had to raid me in. So yeah.
I'm going to see if this float will work. All right.
Oh man, that song's so pure to me. So Cess Crew, that when I was talking about the Kansas City hip hop scene, they were to me, I mean that was my favorite act to ever come out of Kansas City, period. And it was composed of Ubiquitous and Godimus, that was their names. Ubiquitous and I still we're really good friends now because eventually they got signed to Strange Music. Tech Nine, like these guys are amazing. I got to sign them. You know, Strange Music was the label that I worked for,
Yeah.
and it was Tech Nine's label. And I don't know. I just remember the first time I saw Cess Crew. I was at it was like a art gallery, um, kind of function. You know, I don't know if you have any like fringe festivals or anything like that, but it was just like, okay, we're gonna have like graffiti art and street art, um, you know, by local artists on the wall. There's gonna be a keg, and we're gonna have some music. And I remember when they took the stage, and I had never heard of them. I didn't know that we had any local rappers, and the fact that they were local, I was just like, oh, this isn't gonna be anything special. And then they started, and it just blew I mean I couldn't believe it. I mean it just
Wow.
blew me away. And I you know I I was just huge fans of them ever since. And then I came to work at Strange Music, you know, before they had gotten signed, then they got signed. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I get to meet them. I'm gonna work for these guys. Like it was, and I don't know. I just picked that song because you know, my tenure is strange also coincided with me meeting a lot of these artists, these rappers on the more of the like local level. And Tech would sign a bunch of them eventually, but these are just some of the most talented people, some of the funniest people.
Yeah.
Because like yeah, because comedians we have to be funny on stage and that's a skill, but they have to be funny and make it rhyme too. Like they're just they're working with they're clever, really
Yeah.
clever, sharp, intelligent, uh, very creative guys. So I mean, that's just I'm so proud that I was part of that kind of wave, even on a peripheral level. Like I tried to my best to support all these guys in any way I could. Um, and so I'll give a couple shout outs while we're here. Let's see. Cess Crew, JL, Joey Cool, Info Gates. Um, let's see. I hope I'm not missing anybody out, but that was like the core for me. When they're all brought together, they're called the Killer City Committee, and I don't know. It was just a great time of my life, and I feel very fortunate to have been a part of it. So
I love it.
yeah,
So being
yeah.
from Kansas City, I have never been. I want to go. I want to take my husband there actually this year for his
Oh,
birthday.
oh, okay.
So is it like really good barbecue? Is that like is that
Yeah.
real?
So I mean, absolutely, yeah. And like, I can give you a rundown here. Here's the thing: as Midwesterners, anytime someone goes through Kansas City and they're like, "Hey, I'm going to be in KC. Any good spots you recommend?" I take it upon myself. I put in an inordinate amount of time to giving them a good breakdown of where to go, what to
Good.
order. It's this Midwest hospitality thing. Like I gotta like make sure that they have a good time. But also beyond the barbecue, the food scene in general, pound for pound, is amazing. It's great for a visit. Like it's very, you know, the landscape is cool. I don't know. I miss the smell of it, the weather. Um, it's got everything you need.
Yeah.
But um, I, grew up there and lived there for so long. I knew every
Want to
nook and
change.
cranny. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
I moved to Denver for comedy. So,
I was the
but
same
yeah,
way. I grew up in BC and wanted to change and came to Calgary.
yeah,
And now I'm like so miss BC because I love the ocean and I love the trees and Calgary's so prairie that it's so different.
sure.
But yeah, I don't know. It's
Yeah,
different.
I don't know. I get it. Some people love the familiarity and want to stay there, but I have to say, moving was. When did you move? Like, how old were you? Or like in
I was
what
in my
phase? Like
20s.
one? Oh, okay, yeah. So I moved in my mid 30s. It was tough. It's traumatic. I was like, oh my God, I'm leaving everything I
I know
know.
I was like getting my friends to move out here and a lot of
Oh,
them did.
really?
Yeah, because
Yeah,
I was alone, right? I was like, oh my God, like
yeah,
did I make
yeah.
the right decision? I'm none
I
of my
know,
friends
I know.
here.
I know. There's all that. If it wasn't for comedy, I don't know who I'd be hanging out with out here. But yeah, I totally get it. Yeah.
Crazy. All right, next tune.
You're back now at the Jack Off Hour. This is
Oh God.
DJ Easy Dick. I'm gonna balls right now, something new.
Some Snoop Dogg. I've seen this guy a few times. He's fun.
Uh-huh. So this song, this just represents this album. I've I've listened to it more, maybe I wouldn't say more than any album, but I've studied it. And it's not because of the content. I just want to make that clear right now. The song that just played is called Ain't No Fun. And the message is that it's not much fun if we can't all have sex, which I don't really agree with. I'm not here to say that I support this lifestyle, okay? But when you're a kid and your older cousins take you out because one of them's old enough to drive and they play this, and then I mean, I was like, you can curse in songs, they're cursing. And I was like, they're talking about, I mean, that was like, I mean, I had seen rated R movies and all that, but I'd never experienced such escapism. And it was like too much for a fourth or fifth grader to handle. I remember I was, and this was like the class clown in me. I was like a wild kid. And I was in North Dakota riding along with my cousins. One who was driving, they're playing this song, and I was yelling out I was leaning out the window, and I was like, "They're saying fuck in this song," and I was like, "They're talking about bitches," and like my cousins were like, "Oh my god," they were laughing their ass off. They're like, "This kid's hilarious," and I just fed off of that. But I remember this album, I will say to this day, it's one of the best mixed and produced albums in any genre. It just so happens to be Snoop's debut album, but Dr. Dre, his ear to me is second to none. I still listen to this album like about once a year. I go and do like a deep dive and I discover a new nuance or sound or something that I didn't know before. I used to listen to this album every night. Like my on my fifth grade birthday, I traded back a gift that I had gotten from my friend. I think it was like some Michael Jordan cards. I said, I'll give these back to you if you give me your tape that you record, his doggy style tape. And it wasn't even the real tape. It was one that he made
Yeah.
from the CD. And I just listened to that over and over and over and over every night. And like just the way that it's mixed and produced, it changed the way I listen to music. I didn't, it's like the way Dre produces, you can almost see like some of it. And that's why I had to include that. And I don't know why I was just really into gangster rap as a kid. Had no relation to this. I mean, this was a fun era though. You know, you would buy a CD that had the little label on it,
Yeah.
and you would know if the CD store was cool if they let you buy it or not. And then if they did let you buy it, you tell your friends, dude, CD Warehouse, they don't care. You
That's
can get
right.
whatever you want.
Rental,
Yeah.
they don't care. They let you buy that shit.
Yeah. So, and then, we would listen to each other's CDs. It was just a lot of like that kind of discovery of it. There weren't any links. We had to be present
Yeah.
and like listen to things together. And that was the music where, what the Stones was, I'm sure for kids in the 60s, that was the feeling I got, was knowing I had something that I wasn't supposed to have. I was listening to something I wasn't supposed to listen to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
And had my parents ever discovered that I was, or ever heard this stuff, they would be like,
Yeah, I was going to ask you, did they ever hear you listening to that stuff?
I think they knew, but I tried to be respectful at least, and at least, make sure I'd listen to it in my bathroom with, my bedroom door and the bathroom door closed. So they're like, I hear some bass in there, but, I can't
Yeah.
hear what they're talking about. Or I'd listen to it on headphones. I try to be respectful of the fact that they hated that I was listening to this. But anyway, yeah, that was a lot of 90s kids. We loved rap. We loved all that. Getting high and listening to rap. That I think.
And wearing pants that fell off your body.
There you go. Yep. Absolutely.
90s.
Yep.
Sums it up. I love it. Next song.
Here we go, turn it up, let's start from block to block.
Tupac.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I mean, Tupac to me, that's my favorite singular artist ever. And I was gonna put I Get Around, and I love that song. But I was looking at the playlist and I was like, man, I have too many fuckboy songs on here. Like I don't, we get the point, Jeff. So I don't know. To me, that's like one of his best songs. It's a core song of his. I did think of a funny story about Tupac is I on the 7th anniversary of his either his birthday or his death, I was going to junior college, Johnson County Community College, and they have a courtyard in the center. Johnson County is like one of the top 10 richest counties in America or whatever. So their community college is it's decked out. So it's a great institution. But on that day, I brought a poster of Tupac, a sign that said like Tupac rest in peace, 1971 to 1996. I brought candles. I brought an empty bottle of Hennessy. I brought a full pack of Newports, and I brought a boombox, and I made a mural for him that people could walk by and whatever. And I think the sign even said, "Feel free to bum one of Tupac's Newports," because that was the brand that he smoked, and he liked Hennessy and all that. And I lit the candles and everything, and so that was cool because no one knew I did it, and I would just kind of watch from afar and see if they were enjoying it.
That is really cool. Did you?
Yeah, but people like, and I had the boombox playing a CD, a mix that I made, and it was on repeat, and people were just kind of vibing out, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I love Pac," and people were smoking the cigarettes and everything, and I don't know. To me, I just, I don't know. He just seems like, a voice of the voiceless, and it's not me. Like he's not talking about my struggles or anything, but I think there's just a lot of humanity in all of his music. And I just, as far as like having an emotional connection to an artist, just from listening to them, I think the resonance of what he says is just so immediate and palpable, and you can feel it. And I think he was a genius. And so I just, to this day, there's some times where I'm like, nothing's gonna get me out of this funk or get me through this mood other than playing some Pac and turning it up like really loud. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
So what do you think happened? Do you have a theory from the whole Biggie Tupac thing?
What, from his death?
Yeah.
Oh, what's funny is that when I worked at Strange Music, I actually got to interview his videographer at the time,
wow.
and he had his own theories. Gobi Rahimi, he was trying to get a documentary made, and we had like a little radio station at the rap label. It was like a digital radio station. And I would interview, different artists and figures, and he was one of them. And yeah, he definitely Gobi thinks that Suge Knight was in on it. I'm afraid of Suge Knight, so I'm not going to say whether that's true or not. But I mean, to me, what happened was Tupac got carried away, and he swung on somebody after that Vegas fight that he probably shouldn't have punched. I think Pac was very loved and respected in neighborhoods everywhere, but he can't punch a gang member and not expect something to happen. He punched Orlando Brown, and Orlando Brown was a Crip, and he didn't take too kindly to getting his ass kicked, and I think that he killed Tupac, and that's, that's what I think. No one can prove it, but
which is so crazy, hey? Like it's so interesting, the world that we live in. It's like we can go cure this, we can go find this killer, you know what I mean? But yet we're gonna leave this space open and gather money from it, and then we're gonna leave this space open and it's so wild to me.
I get it. And then Tupac and Biggie, they're still unsolved. It's very interesting. They did arrest a guy named Keefe D. In the last 3 or 4 months, they arrested him for the murder of Tupac Shakur. So
wow.
We'll see what comes of that. But I agree. It's
crazy.
We can make things like the Slinky, but we can't. We can invent Crocs, but we can't solve these killings. So. Yeah.
It's so crazy. Yeah, we can put a vaccine together in six days, but we can't find Tupac's killer.
I know. I want to know.
All right, next song.
Yeah, ain't got no jury on, still.
There you go.
Mm, mm. Yeah. So to me, I mean, honestly, this song just represents doing comedy to me. Everyone has their routine as far as getting ready for a show. Some people listen to music in the car ride over there. I've seen people, have them play it before they actually go up on stage. I think that's crazy. My routine, it starts with that song. I take a shower, I listen to that song, I get ready for the show.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I love Schoolboy Q. I think he's so creative. I think one of the most musical rappers ever. But that song just is weirdly empowering and for me, and I just have slipped into a routine and I don't really deviate from it. So that's all that really represents to me is just doing stand up. I've been doing it for like 8 years, maybe 9 now. I really enjoy trying to get better at something and being good at something. And
yeah.
there's nothing really profound about comedy. I don't think some people are like, we make people's lives better, or whatever. For that 1 hour, they're able to forget about their problems and just laugh. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I think we're just being jackasses and getting paid for it, and we're pretty lucky. I don't know if it's that profound. And like, yeah, we're the modern philosophers and all that stuff. I mean, that's
Wow.
sure, I guess, but I, I don't know. You know,
Anything off topic when you do comedy?
what do you mean off topic?
Well, I have seen tons of comedians in my lifetime, like from like
Sure.
Lisa Lapinelli to like, all over the place. So I look at even when I went, like that was probably, I've seen her a few times, but just other like 20 years ago, you look at comedy, and then even 15 years ago, and then like I just seen Whitney Cummings like 6 months ago, and even her show, because I seen her before, her show has like evolved where it's almost like even though she doesn't give a shit what she says, she still like says that, yeah, we're gonna fucking talk about transgenders. You're gonna have to
Sure,
calm
sure,
down.
sure.
So it's
Yeah.
so crazy that because it is
No,
this space that we should be able to go and laugh however we want to laugh
and
and
just
bring up
let
those
go. And
issues however we want to
yeah,
bring up those issues. I'm just a huge believer in that. And I'm like really shock value too. So for me,
sure.
it makes me laugh even more when somebody
Right,
else
right,
can be
right.
that way.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I appreciate that stuff too. Like Jesselnick is one of my favorites. Our performance styles couldn't be any more different, and the way we write couldn't be any more different. But excuse me, I love his jokes. I love laughing at stuff that's very inappropriate. You know what I mean? For me, I kind of coined my style, I think, as thoughtful edge lord. It's like, I still like to be edgy and try to frame things in kind of a, that kind of way. But I try to do and for me describing my style isn't passing judgment on anyone, but I have this Midwestern thing where I want everyone to feel included, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like it's especially in Denver too, it's kind of hard to I don't have any stance on, you know, the way our social climate has evolved lately, other than just like I'm for anybody that wants to live however they want to live. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's
Yeah.
kind of how I've been the whole time. So I've seen some people get up there and just be like, "Well, now you can be any gender," and I'm like, I don't care. Like, people, whatever you tell me you are, that's what you are. You know, you are whatever you say you are. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I really don't care. So I don't really take any. I'm just, I got love for everybody, man. Even people I vehemently disagree with, I don't try to be above them either. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I try to make my stuff pretty you know, I talk about stuff that we can all relate to, like relationships and getting out of a
Good.
bad,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Yeah, yeah, yeah. But having said that, wherever you fall in the aisle, whether it be on politics or wherever, I mean, I am a lefty, but even then, I try to frame it in a way where I can make fun of myself, I can make fun of other people on the left, and you know, it's all good.
Politics
I'm just,
is tough, right? Like
it's a
I'm
tough, it's a tough one to navigate.
well, I'm
There's
in
beauty.
Canada, so the guy that we have, we just want to slap him in the face. So um,
Oh yeah, yeah,
but
you
like
know,
politics is really, really tough to
it's
like,
tough. I think I'm pretty good at doing it in a way that doesn't make people feel like I'm being condescending. You know what I'm saying? Because
yeah,
like the criticisms that people on the right could have for the left, a lot of them, I can be like, yeah, I get it. You know, or I can say, okay, well, that's you. I can understand what informed their perspective or try to find. I mean, I got relatives that are like, you know, I have some that are just they're like Trumpers, and that's hard for me to say out
yeah,
loud, but it also I I can't turn my back on this person. You know, I still love them. You know what I'm saying? I'm
yeah,
trying to understand instead of just judging them on the face value of what they're saying. I try to like see, well, what's behind that? What informed that? What factors led into that? You know what I mean? And
yeah,
so, however you vote or whatever you think, there's still, I think, a common thread of humanity in all of us. And I like to try and tap into that if I'm doing stand up. And I say all that to say I'm not that profound up there. It's not that deep, but I just, you know, I don't want anyone to feel like, you know, scolded. There's a lot
yeah,
of comics
for
around.
sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
there's a lot of comics, I mean, just in general, who they're like, yeah, I'm smarter about, they just have this air about them that if you disagree with this or if you voted this way, well, then you're an idiot. And I don't know. I think I've gotten to the age where it's like, I just know it doesn't really get us anywhere. You know what I mean? So,
Nope, I totally do.
yeah.
All right, you ready for your last song?
We're to the last.
I
Whoa.
know, isn't that crazy? Here we
Oh,
go.
I think this is
What's sizzling? Demons, angels, and civilians. Welcome to my purgatory party, baby. They say it ain't nothing but forms where we.
All right, Techno
okay.
9.
Tech Nine. That's our guy.
That's our
Uh,
guy.
so my guy, and like in Kansas City, that was our guy. That was and that song represents to me when he started the label, we were seeing billboards. They took out billboards in Kansas City with Tech Nine on them. And I don't know, just for us to have an artist of ours and a rapper and someone that like toured and that we just, you know, I don't know. I mean I touched on a lot of that already, but it just means a lot to me and getting to know Tech and like, you know, I we can see each other now and you would just be like, Jeff, you know what I mean? So this is a guy that's like toured the world. He has respect amongst his peers. He has a huge fan base, and he's just done a lot for Kansas City. And like even now living in Denver, um, I still want to represent my city and you know the values and what it's made me, and to have an artist that you know grew up where I grew up and kind of shares a lot of those same values is it just means a lot.
That
So
is really cool.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I have that pride, even though I don't want to live there. You know what I mean? But I just being from the Midwest, I think it's good. It makes you respectful in a way. Like I think I got a lot of that from my mom. I've seen her. She treats everybody the same, whether they're up here on the socioeconomic totem pole or down here. She's the same. And Tech, very much like that. And so I don't know. I'm kind of meandering here, and my blood sugar's
Oh,
starting to dip
I
because I
love
just
it. It's
yeah, yeah,
awesome.
yeah. But yeah, just have a lot of civic pride in that regard. And Tech was like the epicenter of our national recognition as far as like music goes. He's by far the most famous and well-known artist from our city. So just got to give a salute to him, shout out to him. And it was just really cool in high school having something to listen to that we could call ours and play at parties and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So yeah, yeah.
that's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jeff, for joining us today on Music Junkies. Absolutely blessed. Love your playlist. It's refreshing, right? It's refreshing for
Thank
sure.
you.
And I love your charm, right? I love your
Oh, thank you
charm.
so much. Like I said, hey, we can do the beginning and the end, and we can make that a whole podcast. You can
That's
call
right.
you can
That's
call
right.
me
But
charming all day.
I love it. Before I let you go, though, I'd love for you to leave us some words of wisdom. What's on your mind and where can we follow you? What do you got going on?
You know what? I will say, words of wisdom. This kind of goes back to the Midwest thing, but be good to people that you can't necessarily get things from or aren't going to advance you. That tells me everything I need to know about you. Okay? We're all in this together. So be nice to people. Be kind to, I don't like the be kind thing because it makes me think of Ellen DeGeneres. I'm not a huge, I thought she was fake, but I'm just saying, let's treat each other well and like I said, be cool to everybody. And it goes out to established comics because I see some of you people like you don't want to talk to these new cats because they're new and it makes you sick. Be nice to them. You were new too once.
Right.
So and then follow me. Let's say I'd say mainly on Instagram. Give me some more followers. Um, Especially if you're like Annette and you think I'm charming or whatever. Please, follow me at Jeff Nelson Comedy and tell me that in my DMs. I will eat that up. So, but I really thank you so much for having me. Like I said, love music. I could talk about it all day. So getting that message from you randomly that I run a Music Junkies podcast, I was like, this is amazing. So I had a lot of fun. Thank you.
Good. I'm glad. Thank you so much again, Jeff. I so appreciate it.